This conference will now be recorded.
You know, the only reason I remembered is because William kicked me under the table.
I can do the sad.
And let's see. Okay. And hi, I'm Douglas Jackson, and William Penn's here with me in the office. And Janet Carty is there in her home, and we're all part of the collections committee of the Roanoke Arts Commission. And we're doing 8 sessions that are focused on how the Roanoke Arts Commission works, how the public art collection gets to be, how pieces come into the collection, the temporary exhibits we do, and then how artists can work with the city. So everything, we're going to talk about contracting and insurance in this series, with the idea that in the spring of next year, we're going to put new pieces on the Elmwood Art Walk. And when we release the call later, or in October, late October, we hope that it's really going to speak to local artists. We have a goal of getting at least half of those pieces by local artists. I think even more. So this is what this season or this session is building toward. And let's see. And next week, we're going to have David Sheldon with Guidance Tower. So we're looking at 2 pieces in the collection, how they came to be there. And both of these artists have had work in temporary exhibits as well. So I want to first just check in and hear who's here. And so I'm going to stop the share screen so we can see each other a little bit larger. And Janet, do you want to start off and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Janet Carty. Of course, I know Anne and William. Jane, we've never met, and I haven't met Pauline either, but I'm currently serving as the chair of the collections committee on the RAC, and I work at Hollins at the Eleanor D. Wilson Museum. I've been there for 20 years now. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay.
All right, and Jane?
I'm a visual and performing artist. I've lived in Roanoke for about 30 years now. And I usually travel with my business doing face and body art in Hannah at festivals and fairs, but COVID, so I'm just here.
Yeah.
All right. And Paulina, do you have a microphone on your computer? If you wanna unmute, you can introduce yourself.
Are you talking to me?
To Paulina.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And you don't, and there's no requirement. You don't have to. Oh, there you are. Hey.
I'm in my dungeon. That's why I was kind of hiding.
Hi, Paulina.
And tell us about you.
I'm an artist. I moved to Roanoke about 8 years ago from California, but I'm from Poland originally. And I'm also a mom. So I spend a lot of time with my kids. That's why I'm hiding. I'm because of the pandemic. But yeah, I'm a painter, and I'm in my basement studio at the moment. And here's my work, and I have a cabinet. So, and if you, I just inherited a cabinet, which is right here. And
yeah.
Yes,
You have. Right. I remember it well.
Here, and I put my paints inside.
I'm glad you have it, Paulina.
All right, so I'm going back to.
So you've been prolific during the COVID period.
Yes, I'm trying to stay busy because during the day I have to help my kids with their schoolwork, and whenever I can find time, I'm painting.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
And then William?
I'm William Penn. I'm on the collections committee for the Roanoke Art Commission, and I'm a musician, actor, whatever I like to do, I do it. I'm a retired person, and I have a lot of time on my hands, so I do a lot of rehearsing and reading. And welcome to this session.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, William. And then And then Ann, we're going to turn it over to you and let you tell us a bit about you and your history as an artist in Roanoke and a little bit about your philosophy of art. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm Ann Glover, and I grew up in Roanoke and lived other places and moved back to Roanoke from California in 2001, 2002, and promptly dove into the local community, which was in a place in which, in a kind of pivotal place of, what am I trying to say? There's a lot to be done, and a lot of us jumped in and started some things, started a cooperative gallery and restarted the studio tour and stuff like that. And what is my philosophy? Well, I've found that, as with the Trojan Dog and with other pieces that seem to have appeared as if the Easter Bunny had left them in the backyard, if I allow for some of the work that I do to be part of my family philosophy, which is, I wonder if I could do that. It applies to a whole lot of building projects and house projects and other stuff, but it started with a pile of scrap plywood, and it ended up turning into a dog, and it was just so non-rational, and I don't know, whatever you could say. That's a pretty inarticulate philosophy, but it is my philosophy. So I don't know, what else am I supposed to say? I also paint representational paintings, and I work with stencils, crude stencil graphics, and now increasingly homemade stenciled fabric. So all those seem to go together for me, and I'm moving from one discipline to the other. I'm serving as a person in my house who seems to still be working with a lot of plywood right now. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, I love it, and I kind of love that philosophy and approach. I wonder if I could do that.
That's the reigning. If I had an arch with a bronze sign over the doorway, that would be it.
Yeah, a slogan arch or a logo arch. And imagine if a community had collectively had that spirit. I wonder if we could do this.
Well, I hear it a lot, and I'm completely behind those ideas.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to show some of the images that we pulled together. I've got a question for everybody, and the question is, how does seeing this make you feel? So I'll let you think about that for a second, and I'll pull us back in so we can see everybody. So how does seeing this make you feel? And I'll play with it. So now I've got it so I can view everyone. And then, so William, you want to?
I'll start. When I first saw the Trojan Dog, I stopped my car, got out to go look at it. It reminded me of one of my favorite stories, Helen of Troy. And I thought, here's a lady. I didn't know who did it. I said, this is really neat. And it really got a warm spot in my heart. And thank you, man, for that. I appreciate it. And it's simple and reminds you of something you'd like to take home in your heart as a household pet.
Paulina, how do you respond to that dog?
Oh, I love it. Not just because I love the dogs, but it's colorful and happy, and yes, I love the dog, and it's a big part of Roanoke.
Yeah. Jane?
I was just amazed at the sheer size of it, and what really I've always wondered how you did it. I mean, how do you word that? So I'm starting to get clues about scrap supply wood, but I believe there's more to it.
I think you're right. Yeah, Janet, how do you respond to this piece?
Oh, I've always loved it. It makes me happy
when I see it. Just, it feels, and I live here in the neighborhood, just a few blocks from it. And it's kind of, how the star sort of makes you go, oh, I'm home in Roanoke. Well, the dog makes me go, oh, I'm back in Raleigh Court. This is almost home. It's good.
Yeah. It's become iconic. I think. Yeah.
And Doug, how does it make you feel?
Oh, it makes me happy. Yeah, it definitely makes me happy. And I get that sense of home and sense of place around it now too. It's had a life there, and not that it stays put. It certainly moves around and has it's in a new location now. And I went back and I was looking for some images online, and I was surprised at how much media attention the dog has gotten over the years. Anytime something happens with a dog, it's in the newspaper. Yeah. So let me show some more images. All right, and then but this is what we're talking about today. We've introduced Ann, and we want to talk about the temporary exhibition that Trojan Dog was first a part of in the arts collection, but I know it had a genesis prior to that in another project. So we want to hear from Ann about the kind of how it came to be, and talk about the neighborhood partnership that has it in its life now, and then go a little bit into some of the partnership that Ann had with the fabricators as well. So let me see here. I might show a picture. Oh, that was part of Ann's introduction too. I did grab some images off of the Open Studios tour site. And then right next door, we have this other piece in the permanent. This piece is in the permanent from 1979. And Ann, do you want to say anything about this piece?
That is a part of, for me, in terms of a body of work, part of a parallel universe. I've been painting pictures of Roanoke for a long time, and that's an interior of one of our childhood grocery drugstore hangouts, and it's done from a photograph. And I just was interested in painting with flat color and turning up the color to make it as intense as possible. And I'm still doing that. So it's a record of, how old is that painting? Janet wasn't even born then. So, that's 1976. Good grief. That's an old painting.
Yeah, but it's in our economic development conference room. For a piece to be in the public collection, it's got to be in a public space in one of the city spaces. And I think there are people who use the side of the table they sit on because they can see that work. Yeah. All right, and then let me see. Let's talk a little bit. Let's go back to Ann now and talk about how you first, how the dog first came to you, I should say.
How the piece originated, I guess. A group of us worked with the RVSPCA to do annual shows called Best in Show. And they gradually, it started at our cooperative gallery, the Market Gallery, and it gradually upgraded to having openings at the Taubman. And it was a complete open call. No entries were rejected, which is my favorite kind of show. And it was really, those shows were terrific. And everyone painted on the same size panel, which made it more of a populist show. But the work was really fresh, and I thought, excellent. And as we carried on with the show, we decided to open it up to sculpture. And of course, anything that you thought you could do was included in the show. So I had a lot of plywood and thought I would make a dog out of plywood. So it was a 37-inch teeny weeny Trojan dog, and it was totally fun to do. And that's what I submitted to the temporary public art call for entries and said I would enlarge that from 37 inches to 9.5 feet. I had no idea how that was going to happen, but it would involve a lot of plywood. So when Susan Jennings said yes, I kind of fainted, because then I thought, now I'm in real trouble. But it was an amazing experience.
So you presented the concept as part of that call.
Yes.
Then got accepted. And do you remember how much the call was? How much? And with the temporary pieces, it's basically a rental of a piece that will last at least. I think then we had it 18 months, but now it's 2 years. Do you remember how much money was part of that call per piece?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea. It was not a monetary decision. But it was completely worth it. I made it out of marine plywood, and I could buy one piece of marine plywood at a time as my finances would allow. So I would buy outdoor glue and one piece of plywood, and then I'd work with that until I would round up more money. And it just sounds kind of pitiful, but it's a very artist kind of thing. And so, but it all worked out.
Yeah.
And very well.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And I was thinking about that today when we designed this upcoming call. Typically, I think now though it's $4,000 is what the last one was, and the artist gets the money once it's in place, which works fine for somebody who has a piece that's developed or already fabricated. They're bringing it in from out of town and just putting it there. But for an artist who's developing a piece, it might be good if we can design it so that some of that money can come up front.
That's always good, but I think I got half when I started and half when I delivered it.
Oh, good.
Which was good.
Yeah, excellent. All right, and then I'm gonna let's look at some pictures of it. Again, that was the 2010 Art in Roanoke show, and there's some of the marketing materials from it, and you can see Trojan Dog had its close up. Is it Trojan Dog? Is it a he or she?
Yes, his name is George.
Okay, George. How did
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know it because I didn't know it either. He gradually became George.
Okay. Oh, I love it. That's a little insight.
You know how art is.
Well, there's George with his close up, and I like this. I really enjoyed that particular exhibit, and this was in one of the first 2 years of AIR where the pieces were located throughout the city. Lately we've been populating the art walk at Elmwood Park, and there was a certain amount of whimsy in the pieces in this particular exhibit, and that was one of the cool marketing pieces, almost like trading cards of artwork. And there's the dog.
There he is.
Yeah. And the firehouse. And now I should mention that this historic structure is no longer there, and there is a new structure being built that changes I think it feels terrific. I think when you go past it now, but it's a very different feel on that block right now. And there is going to be a pad for George in front of the new firehouse.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Of course, I thought about it really late, and I asked, we asked Sherman Stovall. I was like, there is a pad there for George. I'm sure Susan Jennings thought about it early on when its designs were first being done, and the collections committee. Did you? Yeah. And all right, and pipe in there, Ann, if there's anything you see that you want to point out about your process in developing Trojan Dog. Okay.
Well, it became Trojan Dog because the original one will hold two people in the chest. There was a panel in the wooden dog, and you could flip that down kind of like an ancient spacecraft, and two people could crawl up in there and surprise they're adversaries, I guess. But anyway, that's where the title came from. And the first one was made completely out of wood, and all intended to be as waterproof as possible. But certainly the current one that's made out of high density foam has, I think, a 60-year lifespan.
Yeah, right.
Great. And my part of the story here is that when the people hop out of Trojan Dog, though, they're giving hugs. It's all about love, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Another shot of the original dog. And what's the number 7, Ian?
It's because it's Fire Station 7.
Yeah.
So we wanted him to belong to that fire station completely.
Yeah. Excellent. And then let's talk a little bit. I'll show this, and then we'll pop back onto you. So as I said, the first round, or the temporary exhibit was the last 18 months, and you can find it's all part of the public record that someone loved the dog a little too hard early on, and
yeah. You want to finish that story anyway?
Finish the story. What happened?
We were driving by it. We were driving by it just to kind of admire it on the way to the community inn to thank Oscar Phillips, who'd helped me bolt the head on and do a bunch of heavy duty hardware things that I didn't know how to do. And we drove by it, and the head was not on the dog. And so that was quite a moment. And luckily the head was not stolen. It was just in the firehouse. And the fireman told me what had happened, that they were out on a call and a woman was celebrating her 40th birthday and shinnied up there and got on the head and rode the head off onto the ground. Luckily the head did not hit her friend, who was kind of cozied up to the chest. So we avoided a wrongful death lawsuit and all kinds of stuff, but happy ending. So,
Yeah.
But that was completely amazing.
Yeah. And she called and apologized too, right?
Oh, yeah, it was all good. I mean, everyone's intentions were as best. I mean, I've seen a bunch of people sending me pictures of after they shinnied up there and were riding it like a giant pony, but they didn't get on the head. So anyway.
Well, it's a lot more durable now, although we don't
sure
recommend.
Is.
We don't
It
recommend.
Sure is.
We still don't recommend people climbing on it.
We do not.
Yeah, right now, while the firehouse is under construction, it is in front of the Raleigh Court branch of Roanoke City Public Library, and I have seen any number of students, especially last year as school was starting back up, having their picture made in front of Trojan Dog. And so now the dog is loved in that space as well, even though it has a number 7 for the fire station. When George moves back to the fire station, we're going to have to put some art in front of the Grandin Court Library, or the Raleigh Court Library. All right. And so tell us, so then the neighborhood association loved the dog, right?
They did, and they commissioned a permanent piece. So that was we had priced it out, and it's just astounding that we have a company in town that makes high density foam sculptures and does all kinds of fabrication. And I went over to Shenandoah Avenue to a remarkable studio and saw that they could cut the exact form out of a hot knife in foam. So that's what they did. And I got to be a part of the painting process and supervising, and that was a whole wonderful part of bringing the second one into being.
Yeah, and the Roanoke Times did that great piece about the fabrication of it. Mike Allen wrote it, and I love learning about what's being made around here locally.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are fascinated by it. It should be a big source of pride.
Yeah. Clinton Hatcher runs that company, and he was terrific to work with. And that's a whole world over there at 4DD.
Yeah. Well, we're in a yeah, I mean, I had 65 years in my head is the life, which is fantastic for George. That's much longer than most dogs. Yeah.
It's okay, but I'm fine when you give me a call when you're gonna need another one. I'll be getting that call, and we'll come up with another one.
Oh, good. We like hearing that. Yeah, and there's something about of course there's a number of artists who work in oversized items, inanimate objects as well. And there's something about large, colorful things in the environment that surprise us, especially when they can give us a warm feeling like you saw. Okay, let me share the screen again, and I'll see what else I pulled up. So, and there's the shot inside, and the court reporter in Raleigh Court, the Raleigh Court Neighborhood Association now. It used to be the Civic League. They have given lots of coverage to the dog. And then I wonder if we'll be able to see this when I do this. I think we will. Yeah, and so, and I don't have the sound up because hearing Ann talk about it with us in person is well, not in person, but over Zoom is better than hearing her on the video. But when we went out, and this, gosh, what year? I should know what the year this was. 2012.
I should too.
I want to say 2012. I'm not sure if that's right or not. But this was the children's parade in Raleigh Court, and there's Susan Jennings and Lucy Lee and Jim Lee. And this parade happens always on it's glitchy, isn't it? When you're seeing it. It looks like everybody's walking really funny.
It's a silent film.
Sorry about that, but that's to show that this well-loved tradition of the Saturday after, it's a Saturday before Thanksgiving of the children's parade with there's only one motorized vehicle, and that's got Santa Claus on it. This one had a second motorized vehicle, and that was George the Trojan Dog, who got to ride ahead of Santa Claus and behind the Patrick Henry High School band. And there's George passing the Grandin Theater and turning the corner safely with his Santa Claus hat on, and making his way back. And just to watch a little bit of the installation. Sorry about that glitchiness. I'll have to learn that video's not the best thing. It looks really good on our end though, so.
It looks good.
And then, and you had there's that article from the Roanoke Times. A better shot. And getting them in securely. And as they're giving him the final touches, I'll ask what you learned in the process of all of this. Oh, there he's getting his final adjustments.
What did I learn? Oh gosh. Well, it became a very collaborative piece. And I was getting advice about automotive paint and automotive finishes, and that it still came down to some value choices in terms of how um, how subtle or pronounced the little textural notes in the fur were going to be. But these were all group decisions. And it was just wonderful working in that industrial space, talking to these guys who had made all this wild stuff out of foam. So is that what you asked? Am I answering your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think, in the way you said, I wonder if I could do that as kind of your guiding philosophy or principle as you're undertaking a project. Anytime you're asking that question, you're answering it with a whole lot of new information and new ways of creating your art and new ways of solving problems.
Well, it's the best way to begin a painting. It's the best way to begin cooking something. It's the best way to begin anything. And because you're going to be sort of on uncharted ground, and then you get to discover what's there. So anyway.
Well, excellent. Thanks for sharing that background, and we learned the name George. And does anybody have any questions for Ann?
And did you belong to the Arts Council of Blue Ridge?
What did I do with the Arts Council?
Did you belong to it?
Oh, the whole time. Yeah.
I thought
And I was on the board. Maybe we were on the board together.
I think so.
That's how we know each other. Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions or any?
Yes, I don't know. Can you hear me? Because I don't know what those. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, I'm interested. How was it difficult to work? I know that someone built that dog for you. How difficult was it to make it bigger? Like, did you have to? Yeah,
This is interesting because what I did was I took some craft paper, had a roll of brown craft paper, and just laid the dog down and made the pattern, traced out what the shape was for each facet, including the ears, the body, the tail. And then I took those to Kinko's and blew everything up 370%.
Oh, okay.
So I had a 9.5-foot pattern of it. And
Wow.
totally mechanical. I know. And then, yeah. That's
So you made the pattern, and then it was produced from the pattern.
I made it. I made the thing out of wood in an office space downtown. It was so small, I couldn't put the head on the body until it was done. And that was a moment of truth. But that's kind of, it almost didn't fit through the door because it was almost too big to come through the door. So, but it did. And so.
So then did you transfer the wooden one to the shop on Shenandoah? Did they do
They didn't even need the original. They took extensive photographs of it. Jake Smith took pictures of it. And I kept saying, don't you want the real one? And they said, no, we'll do it all from photographs. So he took photographs from every angle, and they had all they needed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? I don't know. And then their process from the photographs, then they do CNC.
All the computer, whatever the computer imaging is, put it on a grid, and then there's a hot knife that cut it out really in half an hour.
Mm. And is it epoxy that holds it together, or is it mechanical?
Very industrial glues that the likes of which I've never seen. But yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
So George 1 and George 2. George 2, you gain a long life. No one's going to knock his head off.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so you gain a lot. What did you give up in that transfer process?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
I don't think anything. I think I had a whole team involved, and I felt more sturdy with a whole group of people who knew what they were doing. So I felt much better than the first time.
Mhm.
I mean, they knew how to make everything fit together, and they got it over there and installed it.
Hey, so what happened to the original?
Oh, I still have it.
Yeah,
I still have it. It's in a giant studio. It's in the studio down at the industrial park.
cool.
And I'm gonna have to figure out what to. I have some other giant things down there, so I'm gonna have to get them over here to my house, I think. But I would love to redo the wooden one as a kind of to show the wood, because the wood is really, all the lamination is really beautiful, and do that as an atrium piece, maybe for a children's hospital or something like that.
Oh, nice.
That's what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Thank you.
something to do this year.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Sure, Jane.
Okay, cool. I'm doing a chalk thing for National Night Out next Tuesday at Fire Station number 5.
Mhm.
And I thought, could I get your permission to riff off of your dog over at Fire, like the puppy of George is at Station 5?
Absolutely,
In
that
chalk.
would be great. That would be great.
I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a thank you for first responders. So yeah, I think that would be just real and really connect, the different sides of town as well. You know what I mean?
That's a great idea.
Where is
Awesome.
I would be honored to see that.
Cool. I'll make sure I take pictures.
Okay.
Where is station number 5, Jane? Where is that?
Orange Avenue.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And what night is National Night Out?
Next Tuesday. And
So we can come over on Tuesday and watch this coming into being.
yes, I think it starts
Okay. Okay.
What time?
around 4 o'clock.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions before we wrap up?
That's cool.
Any announcements anybody wants to make about anything happening soon?
No.
All
Pauline,
right.
wait, I have a question for Paulina. I'm sorry if I can segue a minute.
Yes.
Paulina, it looks like you have a studio full of paintings. Do you have
Yes,
a show lined up?
Right now, I don't have any plans for a show. Yes, I will have to. I'm thinking about it, but because of the pandemic, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes, I paint, and I kind of ran out of space because they are everywhere, and my family is tripping over my paintings. So it would be nice to show them sometime soon. Yes.
That's cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, next week we'll be back at the same time with artist David Sheldon to talk about Guidance Tower, the new piece in front of Blue Hills Communication Center, and it'll be kind of the same setup. And with that, let's offer a round of applause for our guest, Angela.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right.
See you.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks,
Cool.
Dan.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Pauline. Bye, Jane. Bye, William.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Night, John Boy.
Yeah, almost.
Yep.
Oh no, did it stop recording? I thought I had it recording.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, good. Stop recording.